My life in Moscow, I was born and raised there. It was good. I loved it. As soon as I came to Berlin, I was like, hold on, wait a second. Sometimes life just happens. I actually moved here because of love, believe it or not. Yeah, I always wanted to live in Italy. I think for people outside of Germany, when you think Germany, you think sausages, beer, you think Bavaria, really. But for me, this Dolce Vita always had more of a, appeal personally.
You have the Deutsche Vita here. Deutsche.
That is good. That is good. I came here on a Friday, went out, I tried to go to Berghain, I got lost, and I just met this woman who I thought was homeless.
Okay.
But apparently she wasn't, and she was like, where are you going? I'm like, to Berghain. She's like, Berghain, come with me to KitKat. I'm like, what is that? I ended up at KitKat. I met somebody there, and then I moved here a year later.
You once described Berlin as the loneliness capital.
Yeah, I think Berlin is what you make it.
Today's guest in the Guten Tag Podcast is Dima Samarin, a communications expert and storyteller in Berlin. He's the creator of Mitte Daily, a community for hyperlocal insights into Berlin's lifestyle and culture. In this episode, we explore Dima's journey from Russia to Berlin, the myths and realities of living in this city, and why it's often called the capital of loneliness. We also discuss the importance of building community and forging new connections in an ever-evolving metropolis. So whether you're a longtime Berliner or someone dreaming of making this city your home, this conversation is for you. My name is Luardo. This is the Guten Tag Podcast. Let's dive in. We want to thank one of our sponsors for supporting this podcast. WonderTax is a platform that makes your tax declaration in Germany easy. Try it out for free and only submit if you're fully satisfied. Visit gutentag.wondertax.de and give it a try. Now, without further ado, let's start with the conversation. Dima, welcome to the show. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag, Luardo. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Normally, I'm on the other side in the interviewer role, so it's a welcome departure.
You are originally from Moscow. How was your life in Moscow in comparison to Berlin lifestyle?
I mean, my life in Moscow, I was born and raised there. It was good. I loved it. But it was very much upbringing, right? I went to school there. I went to university there. I studied journalism. And as soon as I graduated, I moved. So it was my kind of foundational years where I have established my first friendships, my first work experiences, my first life experiences in general. But it was not, I wasn't an adult then. I was still kind of young and maximalist and ambitious and bright-eyed. Whereas coming here and having been in Berlin for about 7 years, I want to say, I feel a bit more established and more like myself almost. Mm-hmm. That sounds so cheesy, but hey.
You said that everything used to be very big, right? That every distance was like from one side to the other.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it would take me at least an hour to get anywhere from my home to my university to my work and I love to do things and travel around. So I was doing a lot of commuting back and forth. But then as soon as I came to Berlin, I was like, hold on, wait a second. I don't need to spend an hour in the metro sweating with other people.
Yeah.
I can actually just walk places because I was also lucky enough to have landed in Mitte, which is where I live still to this day. And I was like, wait, I don't need to leave. Everything is here. Yeah. So these days I don't even I always say to people, if I cannot walk there, I'm probably not coming, which is of course not serious, but kind of is. I don't like to leave. Why would I?
I want to know, when do you feel that call for adventure?
The thing is, I'm not the person who plans things.
Yes.
So I didn't, back in Moscow when I was growing up, I didn't have a life plan for myself. And I still don't. I don't know, I'm not okay, for the next 5 years, I'm going to live here and then I'm going to move to this place and then I'm going to restart my life from scratch. It just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's my bad, but sometimes life just happens. And now maybe less so, but before I always would just so much go with the flow, sometimes even to the degree that would not be healthy perhaps.
And why Berlin?
I actually moved here because of love, believe it or not. Yeah, it was not on my radar. I always wanted to live in Italy. I even learned Italian when I was 14.
Mm.
Yeah, and Germany was never even close to my radar. It was because I think for people outside of Germany, that was the truth for me at least. When you think Germany, you think sausages, beer, you think Bavaria, really.
Yeah.
So that was my idea of Germany as a whole, and Berlin being part of Germany.
Mm.
That's kind of what I expected from it almost. And that never really allured me that much.
Especially if you're comparing it with Italy, right? Like food and beaches and wine and everything. It's like more interesting to think about Italy than Germany, maybe, right?
I mean, depends. Also, it depends on the person. But for me, this Dolce Vita always had more of a appeal personally.
You have the Deutsche Vita here. Deutsche.
That is good. That is good stuff. I love a pun. I love wordplay.
Yeah.
This is genuinely good. I have to write it down. I have to use it somewhere. Consider it stolen. I'm taking it to the bank.
Dolce Vita.
Fuck, Deutsche Vita is really good.
Now it's in my brain.
It's
Deutsche
really good. Title of the episode. Clipping this for social.
You fell in love with someone and you came here?
Yeah, I mean, I just met somebody actually on my first night when I came to Berlin. I mean, at first I was traveling with no particular purpose. I was like 18.
Yeah.
I was just hanging out, and then I came here on a Friday, went out. I tried to go to Berghain. I got lost. I ended up at KitKat. I met somebody there. And then I moved here a year later.
Well, I mean, that was the experience a very Berlin experience what you lived. I don't know if you got rejected or you didn't find Berghain.
I just didn't find it. My phone died. And I mean, for some reason I was convicted. Convicted, is that a word? I was convinced that I will find it somehow, but then my phone died and I was just in the U-Bahn lost. And I just met this woman who I thought was homeless.
Okay.
But apparently she wasn't. And she was like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "To Berghain." She's like, "Fuck Berghain. Come with me to KitKat." I'm like, "What is that?" And she led me there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very funny about confusing someone who appeared to be homeless to someone who's not.
Yeah, I think Berlin has a very specific look, which is very gender neutral, I feel. It's very neutral in general.
Yeah, well, the first experience you had, if you were at the KitKat, then you were like in the most, let's say, I don't know if general, flexible place.
Yeah, I mean, but this woman, honestly, it's not like she looked homeless, quotation marks. She genuinely, she had a whole carry-on with her with wheels, and she had she was she was not like one of those alternative girls who kind of had ripped ties. She was full on covered up, 10 pieces of clothing with her. I was like, what? She had this huge bag with her. I was like, what is that? She's like, oh, that's a gift to my friend. And she was she had all those little tchotchkes with her. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, I'm just bringing gifts to my friends. And I was like, that is weird. But also, I mean, I had no choice really, because my phone was dead and I was in the middle of Berlin at night. My first night here. I don't speak German. I'm 18. I'm clueless and a little bit drunk. So.
Yeah. You have your experience in marketing and storytelling, and that's how you identify yourself, right, as a storyteller.
Yes. I mean, it's a little bit of a cheesy label, and I realize that there's, the joke's on me. But I always say that I always would do, because, okay, the backstory, I would always try different subfields of marketing, like copywriting or, I don't know, PR or performance marketing or this or that, collaborations, whatever, celebrity management, everything. And I would always I wouldn't suck at any of it. I wouldn't excel at anything specific. I was like, yeah, I guess I can probably do it all. But it's hard to find a purpose within that and a job also within that. What is my job description? I do a bit of everything. I don't know if that's good enough.
Not a good title.
Yeah, exactly. Jack of all trades. I mean, sure. But then I kind of landed on the internal framework for myself of storytelling, meaning that everything that I do comes back to telling a story. And that can be through media, through publications, through video, through campaigns, through ads. through text, through visual, through whatever really. And that really kind of was like, okay, got it. That makes sense. I can explain it to myself, which was also, I just made up a story about storytelling in my own head, and that story made sense. And I just am rolling with it. And it's been working out so far. So, hey.
Well, in the small clips I have seen on Instagram, I like the way that is being told, some of the reflections. And one of the things that you mentioned in one of them, and I would like you to expand on it. Explain yourself. You once described Berlin as the loneliness capital.
Yeah, I don't think it's a term I coined. It's very much, I mean, also because I've posted this little clip and then people were like, loneliness capital, who says that? And I was like, am I crazy? I looked it up. I Googled it. I mean, if you look it up, it's a thing. Like, I didn't invent it. It's a thing. People call it the loneliness capital because, I mean, it's kind of lonely. It's lonely everywhere in the urban, West.
Yeah.
But Berlin specifically, I think, has this tendency to lean towards isolation and individualism to an unhealthy degree, perhaps.
But that's also a thing which is happening globally, like this kind of loneliness epidemic. I have a feeling, like, because of social media, like, allows us to entertain ourselves in our flat or whatever we are, but isolated from other people, and also meeting other people like with romantic intentions also has become just like a thing of swiping left or right, and that creates maybe this feeling of.
Yeah, but you know what? I was speaking about this to my good friend, Monica Jiang. Shout out to Monica Jiang. She's a loneliness researcher.
She will be on the podcast.
Is she? Yeah. Wow, Monica, we're saving a seat for you. No, she's great. And she kind of really helped me understand this a little bit more. And specifically the fact that modern loneliness is really not about... it's really not even about technology, and it's not about the lack of social connection or social situations in general. So it's not just about the fact that you're at home by yourself and you just wish that there are more people around you. Because there are a ton of people around you, especially if you live in a place like Berlin. It's really lack of belonging to a degree where you might have all of those connections. You live in a gay, you have a flatmate, let's say. Does that automatically equate to you not being lonely? Absolutely not. You still feel a little bit empty inside. Have
you reflected why some people feel like that, or have you felt like that before?
For sure, I felt like that. I mean, I felt like that whenever I was going through like personal trouble in my relationships. Because I also have a tendency to kind of close in. I don't think I'm like that person who processes things outwardly. I kind of internalize a lot of the stuff and intellectualize it also in my head, which also kind of fucks me up in the end. But I don't know. For me, the solution to that sinking feeling of, poor me, I'm so lonely, so desperate, was really stopping to drink alcohol.
Okay.
Because I stopped drinking last year, which wasn't, not in a sense that I'm not going to have a drop of anything ever in my life. I mean, I can have a glass of champagne, but I just stopped like regularly viewing
as the center of socializing and having fun.
Exactly. Like I stopped viewing it as my main source of entertainment. So I still go to parties and whatever, but I kind of don't feel the pressure. I know it's hard to explain, but I just feel a little bit more at ease, and I feel a lot more like, I'm a lot more open to connections. And I find that I didn't really change my behavior. I didn't like start coming up to people and introducing myself, but somehow, because I'm just kind of standing there and open to adventures, I guess, to your point, people actually like come up to you, and it's been quite a different experience going out and meeting people in complete sobriety. So I recommend at least trying it. I'm not saying that you should like quit all.
I've heard, I mean, that's a big tendency. I have seen that, especially in Berlin, that there's a tendency of like being sober and having fun, like going to party and not to get drunk. And also I read somewhere that also the Gen Z are consuming less alcohol than the older generations.
Yeah, I've read that as well. And because I'm like the later, like the last train of Gen Z was leaving and I just jumped into it. So I still, of course, formally I'm part of Gen Z, but I somehow have always been surrounded with millennials, and I maybe relate to millennials a bit more. And if you look
you started to work like quite young, maybe you were always surrounded by them, right?
I was always like the youngest in almost every room where I would be. Even in my school, I was always like, I went to school at 6 and I'm like literally always the youngest, and in my university and always at work. I mean, not anymore. Unfortunately, there are younger folks coming in.
Yeah, that starts to happen.
Yeah, but then there's this Gen Z thing. Yeah, I feel like Gen Z do not drink, and they kind of, which, I mean, I don't know, this whole narrative is a bit lame to me. It's like, we're eating granola, like, and I'm also not trying to like push that forward. I feel like it's a bit beige, but somehow I'm on the side of history, so
I don't have to get drunk to have fun, because then you have like this, and also we're living in a dopamine detox also generation. We're more aware of what dopamine is and what it does to us, and that we need to, in a way, like moderate the amount of dopamine that we receive. And for some people, alcohol brings them this like level or high level of dopamine. For me, it was never the case. I never felt like that dopamine rush, and that maybe some people feel. And then you have like this, the day after, not just the hangover because you just drink a lot of alcohol, but also like the amount, when you receive a lot of dopamine, then you have the opposite effect that you start feeling like depressed sometimes, because like the brain is trying to balance itself. So you have a lot of dopamine, then you have a lot of like pain or depression to try to level that up. And therefore you also have like this hangover, and then you also think, or you feel like shit sometimes, not only like with headache, but also like, what am I doing with my life kind of feeling.
100%. Yeah, I mean, alcohol is a known depressant. I don't know how to pronounce that, but you get the point. I'm not a scientist. But also, I think that's just true for most substances. It was such a bizarre setting, actually. I was once at this lecture, which was hosted, like super informal. Like it was just like in a park, I guess, in an offsite event of like the kind of crowd who goes to like Burning Man and whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And this lecture was also in Spanish. So I don't really speak Italian, but like with my knowledge of Italian, I kind of made out what they were saying. And the lady was a doctor, but a very drug positive doctor, let's say. And she was explaining like the effects of different drugs on your body and how to like, okay, if you're taking MDMA, maybe have a ginger lollipop. And something as simple as that can actually reduce your like this release of the whatever it is, whatever the chemical gets released after that. But then one term that she used during that presentation, which I thought was so funny, she called it Suicide Tuesdays. So
Suicide Tuesday.
Yeah, meaning that you kind of go out on the weekend, you like take a little something on Friday, on Saturday. By Sunday, you kind of maybe recover, maybe not. You move on. Monday, you're still kind of kicking it. But by Tuesday, that's kind of when it's hitting you in the bodily sense. And that's when all of those whatever hormones get released. And she's like, yeah, we call it Suicide Tuesdays. And I was like, this is also a great term to coin, Suicide Tuesdays. Yeah, I haven't had one of those in a while, so I'm quite thankful. I mean, last time I actually had some drinks on the New Year's this year, so like a month ago. After like a little bit of a break, but I was like, you know what? It's New Year's. Who cares? I love New Year's. And back in Russia, New Year's is like the holiday because Christmas was canceled by the Soviets. So they had to replace it with something, and that something was New Year's. So New Year's is like, it's like Diwali in India. It's like the thing of the event of the year. So like, yeah, I'll have some Prosecco, obviously. Yeah. And then in my mind, I would just like go out, have fun, and then the next morning I will wake up and do like New Year's resolutions and write up all of my intentions for the year. But it hit me because I had this break also, I guess. This anxiety hit me so hard. I just like spent like 3 days in bed, just like rewatching Sex and the City and eating pizza, and it was so lame. And I still didn't write any intentions or any, whatever you call it, for the New Year's.
Affirmations or resolutions. I don't know.
Yes, resolutions, that's the word. Haven't written any of it. Yeah, and I was like, you know what? That's fine. Maybe I should come back to not drinking. It's not fun. It's not fun anymore to just lay in bed and feel half dead.
Going back to the the loneliness capital.
Mhm.
I mean, you have found a way, or what I have seen, that you have found a way of like also contrasting that part by creating events in community, doing some gatherings. I saw that you started to do that.
100%. I feel a bit, to be honest, icky about the word community because it gets thrown around so much these days, and this is. I really want to say a few names, but I will not because. But it's like our community, blah 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 blah.
Like, stop calling your clients community.
100%. I'm signing my name under this, so I feel a bit like it's a bit of an empty promise if I say, what I have here is a community. I absolutely would love for that to happen, and I'm kind of building towards it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I can confidently sit here and say Mitte Daily today is a community, maybe an emerging community. Like maybe that's that framing I am happy to go with, because ultimately the goal, of course, is to kind of create spaces that are fun for me and fun for everybody else.
How did it start, the idea of gathering with other people?
Yeah, I did the first event series this summer. This past summer, 2024. It was a series of petanque picnics. So we got together and without any rhyme or reason and knowledge or background in any of it, we just started playing this French ball game and having drinks, having fun, talking to people. And it was super, super nice. And I feel like there's kind of not a need for that, but there's definitely resonance in that space of local events. Because also I feel like in Berlin, you have a very strong offering in terms of club-oriented events. So you have obviously insane techno parties, everything. You have maybe a bit of like burlesque type entertainment, but the quality, at least in my experience, of something a bit more low-key is not that fantastic.
Yeah.
Not to shit on everybody, but kind of to shit on everybody. So it also just...
But I heard someone also in an interview on Instagram, I don't remember the name of the channel, that they asked her, what is the misconception about Berlin or about meeting people in Berlin? And she answered, clubbing friends are not your friends.
I mean, I agree to that. And I feel like clubbing friends can grow into friends. And I've had that happen to me, but it was more of an exception. I've had as many club friends turn into regular friends as I've had club friends who just died, because of an overdose or suicide,
really?
Whatever.
Wow.
So that's how rare it really is. So that pipeline is not something I would necessarily rely on. That said, it's not unheard of, but that I think speaks to what really happens when you go with the flow a little bit too much, which I said earlier, that I have this tendency, I know it for myself, that I can really get washed and, let's just do this. And just seeing firsthand what that can do to people, it's fucking scary, to be honest. So,
Going back on a meeting people, you said that, for example, the reason you come here because you met someone at a KitKat. Actually, I don't know if in the KitKat is the best place to meet your partner.
Probably not.
But I don't know, nowadays, I mean, you're younger than I and more experienced. What's the best place to meet someone?
You're saying it as if we're like generationally so.
I think you're under 30, right?
Yeah, I'm under 30,
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like 39, I'm like, oh man, in 1 year I'm 40, so like, damn.
I mean, look at what people are doing to their faces at 50, 60. They're just like, and bam, nobody would ever tell you.
Or like this guy, Brian Johnson, like this guy who has the blueprint to live forever. And
oh my God, that's a little bit, I don't know.
But where were we? Yeah, meeting people.
Meeting people, right. I don't know. Most people I meet these days are people I meet through work, but because my work is a little bit I don't have like such a strict separation between my personal and my professional life by intention. I don't mind having this fluidity in there that creates space and also an incentive sometimes to hey, drop an introduction. It's not weird, right? And that's also one of the initial reasons why I started the platform that I started, Mitte Daily. I would always be curious about like, this guy has this shop. I wonder like, what's the story there? How did he like, I also want to have a shop one day. Maybe like, should I ask him? But it's kind of weird to just come up and ask people. But now I have an excuse to be like, do you want to do an interview? Do you want to get a feature? And they always say yes normally. And I get to meet people this way. But of course, you don't need to have like an interviewer set up to, I feel like work still. I mean, it's also maybe not the most original answer, but I feel like...
What do you think of dating apps?
Sure.
Do you think they work? Do you think that just work for some people, or it creates like this kind of like overloads people with choice, and at the end they find it harder to find the right partner for them?
I don't know. I mean, the commodification of the human, of course, is up to discussion. Perhaps the whole mechanism of how it's constructed, and the fact that, I mean, I know from whenever I was using dating apps, I feel like I was getting more of a kick out of just the game of it than an actual connection. So you kind of, I feel like half the times people who go on dating apps are more so maybe looking for validation than looking for an actual partner. And I was speaking to this woman who actually works in a dating app, one of the major dating apps, and she told me that what did she say? She was like, we encourage people to first establish some sort of social dynamic where they are present and comfortable and they already have connections to build off of, and then get into the experience of dating, whether online, offline, however you prefer. But having that base in place in the beginning, not having your potential online date be your only anchor to like human connection. I feel like as long as you have like the ground covered, you can find dating success anywhere,
But women say that Berlin is a city where it's very hard to find a partner or a stable partner.
I mean, I think Berlin is what you make it. So if you make it a place that does not allow space for stable connections, it will be that place. But, I feel like different people live in different Berlins. Some people live in, the Prenzlauer Berg kind of Berlin, where they go out on a Sunday with their dog and then they get ice cream and they, go to the flea market and, pick out a mid-century chair and have a lovely chat with their neighbor. Yeah. But then there are people who live in the other type of Berlin, in like the Kreuzberg after hour type of Berlin. And they would obviously have different experience. And it's easy to forget that like the universe that surrounds you is not the only version of the universe out there. And you could just have to like reach out there if you're looking for a change. And I mean, I'm not to, both are, again, valid lifestyle choices, but they just enable different level of connection and different intention really coming into, be it romantic or be it friendships.
I like the description of a person who lives in Prenzlauer Berg.
It's very family. It's very, it's cute. I mean,
People might say that Mitte is a bit mainstream or for tourists. How would you defend that argument?
Mainstream. First of all, I'm not, I was doing this other podcast and the host was like, well, it's kind of like one of your goals is to like get people to come to Mitte. And I was like, I'm not like, I just happen to live here. I'm not like recruiting. I'm not a spokesperson for Mitte. But is it mainstream? I mean, I guess. If you look at where the movies are filmed in Berlin, 80% of filming locations are always in Mitte. because it's Berlin. When you think of Berlin, especially if you're an outsider to Berlin, you think perhaps something that's most likely in Mitte. You think Brandenburg Gate, you think Alexanderplatz, TV Tower, whatever. So it is a little bit, it's not a hidden, hidden gem, hidden away somewhere, and you have to it's quite out there. It's a center, middle. It's in the name. It's a meeting point, you know what I mean? And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. And I don't think Berlin has the same level of tourism like Barcelona, where the locals are frustrated to the point of marching and, cursing at tourists. I don't think it's that
people in
exactly.
the cafes.
I don't think it's that dramatic, because I live in Mitte, and other tourists in my neighborhood. I guess, does it affect me?
There's different kind of Mitte, right? Like there's the Mitte Alexanderplatz or the Mitte Rosenthaler Platz, or
kind, yeah. What's the third? Wedding?
I don't think Wedding is not Mitte. Moabit is not Mitte. Yeah. Feels like, or technically maybe it is. The Rathaus might be the same, but the Mitte. Friedrichstraße would be the other kind of Mitte.
True.
Friedrichstraße is still Alexanderplatz Mitte. I'm not fan of it.
Yeah.
Rosenthaler Platz area.
The best kind of Mitte,
yeah. The best kind of Mitte.
I always think of it as like a Russian doll, where you have the bigger one, which is Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Inside you have Berlin, completely the opposite of Germany. Inside Berlin you have Mitte, which is not really Berlin. It's not representative. And inside Mitte you have Alexanderplatz, which is the tiniest one, which is not Mitte. So you have those layers of contradiction, where this thing is that thing, but that thing is not that thing. And it's all like a melting pot of stereotypes and expectations and realities kind of overlapping. But yeah, Alexanderplatz, perhaps not the vibe.
It's not the favorite place.
That's always the vibe. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when I saw that crossroads for the first time, I thought, that's one of it I like a lot, because I thought, wow, this feels like a city very vibrant. And the second crossroads that I like is the one from Everswalder Straße in Prenzlauer Berg. That's also another one that I just like to stand there and just watch everything happening. Like the U-Bahn, the tram, the people crossing, the people on the bikes. Is you can just stand there and watch for a while and see a lot of different kind of lives passing by.
I'm very into that. I feel like people in Germany, or people native to Germany perhaps, kind of underestimate the pleasures and the excitement of people watching. I'm such a big fan. I love to just sit there. You know how they do in Paris, when they just sit there with a cup of coffee and just stare at people. I love that. I don't think people do that enough. I don't think there's enough spaces to do that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But Rosenthalerplatz is one of those lucrative corners of Berlin where you can in fact sit down. Maybe not at St. Oberholz, but someplace, whatever place is open, because places also open and close at Rosenthalerplatz. It feels like every month.
Yeah. No, you know what's really sad? Pizza La Pausa.
Yeah.
They were here since I came to Berlin the first time in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
and that place was there. And then after, I don't know how many years, I passed the other day and it was not there anymore.
Yeah, La Pausa was good, the Roman slices. But now I think Rosenthaler Grill, the infamous meeting point, has overtaken, and there is more chicken in there.
Oh, the doner place.
Also, there's this new place I haven't tried yet, Slice Society. I don't know, have you heard?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's on Torstrasse, so somewhere around Rosenthaler, and they do New York style slices, which I think is so underrepresented.
What are your favorite places in Berlin? Now that we're talking about food and places.
Yeah, anything around Rosenthaler. I prioritize comfort sometimes over anything. The place that I won't shut up about recently, which opened at the end of 2024, and I think they should honestly be paying me by this point, because I've been talking about it on every chance I get. It's the place that opened in Chlorchens Ballhaus in the 1920s ballroom building.
Auguststraße?
Auguststraße, exactly. Yeah, it's called Luna d'Oro. which means golden moon. Italian name, although they're serving German cuisine. I don't know what the logic there was. But as soon as I walked in there, I was like, this place was made for me personally. Like, it's so good. It's so perfect. You walk in, you have like those dark wooden floors. It's like dining. We are not open during daytime. Dark walls, wooden tables, really nice staff. And they serve like kind of quirky German cuisine with seasonal ingredients, and they have like 80s music playing in the background, and like every single detail is so thought out. It has like giant yellow disco ball, golden disco ball in the ceiling. They have pink urinals, and then next to those pink urinals you have pink matches, and I was like, oh, they matched the matches to the urinals. Who does it? Who does it like that? I'm so in love with that place. So if
isn't the first floor like in Spiegelsaal?
It's in the no, it's not. Spiegelsaal is on the first floor, so it's one floor up from the ground. This is a ground floor. Spiegelsaal is still there. They're still doing like tango lessons there, apparently, whatever. And you can still rent it for events. It's gorgeous. But this place opened downstairs, ground floor, really, really nice. I totally recommend.
Wow, I gotta try that one.
Yeah, but you have to book ideally in advance. Not in advance, not like way in advance, but like maybe a week ahead. And they have an online form which you can fill. It's pretty easy.
From your project, from Daily Mitte, you have met probably a lot of interesting people, right?
For sure, for sure.
What is the story that has captivated you the most?
I mean, each story is interesting in their own degree, but I always like little tidbits. I like little like synchronicities in people's lives, which maybe are not the most dramatic turn or not the most like inspiring story of their life. But like, I did an interview with the guy who owns a cookbook shop, and he's always been like a big fan of cooking, and he always collected cookbooks, and then he just collected like so many, literally thousands of cookbooks. And he was like, let me just open a shop, I guess. And he still has a shop in Mitte, in Zendikerstrasse, I think.
Only cooking books.
Only cookbooks and only vintage cookbooks. So they're not like, it's not like a new, like all of
Jamie
them are
Oliver is not
yeah. And he has like some from the 80s, some that are still handwritten, like that old, and it's fantastic. And he's all like, he really like knows all those recipes, and it's very like global from every corner of the world.
Wow.
I'm sure Mexico. He showed me some like Soviet cookbooks also, which was so hilarious. And then he's like, I was like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Essen. Essen, as in in German. I was like, Essen. He's like, yeah, it's like a little town called Essen. I was like, how
what
funny.
A coincidence.
Yeah, how funny is that you're coming from a town called Essen and you work in food? Like, it's like those little nuggets of like, life is just magical. What are the odds? I mean, you cannot, if it was like a plot point in the movie, I would be like, gosh, this would never happen. And that is kind of my favorite type of stories, where if it was fiction, you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I think that's why it clicks for me.
Yeah. Where's the place?
Zendikerstrasse, I believe it's called Biblioteca Culinaria.
Okay.
Also, the thing is, he used to be an orchid seller, and he made enough money selling flowers that he doesn't feel, I guess, the pressure to make money with this job. I don't know if I guess he would be fine with me saying. No, but because the stuff he said is really quite affordable. Because he told me that he does not like. It's clear that this is not a moneymaker over here. A vintage cookbook shop in Berlin Mitte is not something that's gonna make you a millionaire.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not like a business that
scalable one.
Exactly. So he's like, yeah, you know what? I also asked him like, how do you price those books? Because it's like, okay, this is like a cookbook from Japan from 1965. Like, what does that cost? He's like, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just look it up on like eBay, how much like those kinds of books cost. But also those people on eBay, they also probably just made it up. All of it is so so made up. And he's kind of very relaxed about it. So that's why, if you want to get into cooking.
Tell me more about Mitte Daily.
Yeah, Mitte Daily is my brainchild. It's my little project, my passion. You know Igor Renk, who I think was on your podcast before, from Handpicked Berlin.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
He gave me a shout out once and he wrote something along the lines of Mitte Daily is this beautifully curated resource, which is neither daily nor exclusively about Mitte. And I thought, fuck, this nails it. This is exactly what it is. It's all just one big lie. No, but it's just a local platform that I curate. For now, kind of got started on Instagram. Use it as a tool to really learn more about my neighborhood and see what's happening around and report back to my community, my emerging community.
Exactly. You're also launching a newsletter.
I am. I haven't made the announcement. I haven't made the announcement yet. I haven't mentioned it, and to a couple people. So yeah, this is a little teaser. I'm launching it in February if everything goes right. But if it launches in March, don't quote me. So the project initially got started under the name of Mitte Daily, despite the fact that it's not necessarily always daily. But that's the aspiration. Yes. So I thought it would only be fitting to. Do we need to restart something? Or?
No, I restarted the camera before, but I didn't restart my phone.
Okay. So the kind of main project. I don't know if project is the right word. The main kind of initial starting point is Mitte Daily, so I thought it would only be fitting to maybe keep the connection with to like the cadence of it, and so the newsletter will be Mitte Monthly, and essentially I will just recap what you missed this month in Berlin. Hey, this month this thing opened or this major event happened. Not trying to like be the go-to source for all the news and not trying to be like the news cycle kind of gal, but rather just giving like a little write-up, a little take.
When it's something curated, every curation would be the word, has a little bit of the style or of the taste of the person, of the author, of the one curating it.
Well, hopefully that's been working out for me so far. Not to brag. But curation, the word curation comes from the Latin verb curare, which means to care. So, and I do care about the stuff I put out. Like I spend like way too much time making sure like every little I is dotted, every little, punctuation, all of it, like visual, it's all coming together. So I'm quite rigorous with myself about it. And of course, I'm planning to bring this level of rigor to your inboxes.
Yeah. For the people who are living in Berlin as expats or migrants and are trying to find themselves in a community and trying to feel more part of the city, what advice would you give to them? What has worked for you?
I guess what's worked for me is not... I always say that expectation is a premeditated disappointment. So not going out there expecting to make a certain kind of connection with a certain kind of person, but rather just being open to connection as a category. Mm-hmm. I think that's the best advice I can offer, because I feel like people are oftentimes really let down by their own judgments of their own kind of ideas of what they're looking for. Like, oh, I wish I had a friend who was, who lived in my neighborhood and would work in my field and would understand me in that regard. And they would have 2 children and they would also be Catholic. And it's like, you kind of like build up this idea of what kind of connection you're looking to make. Then you're missing out on something that doesn't fit that mold, but could be even better maybe. So that kind of always has, worked for me. Being open to keeping the connection, also maintaining it. That's something I wish I was better at, because I have a few friends in my circle or a few people in my circle who are so good about just reaching out and like keeping in touch. And I think everybody likes that. Everybody likes to, not always, but not to generalize, but to generalize. I feel like it's more often than not a positive experience to receive a message from somebody you maybe forgot about and saying some kind of like, hey, thinking about you, how you doing? Sometimes message like that from, I don't know, somebody I'm not even thinking about for years. This message pops up puts a smile on my face. And I think being that person, again, I'm kind of preaching maybe to myself, but being that person who is not afraid to just drop a message and be proactive, I think is always good.
That's right. Every time someone from maybe my high school or my studies writes something to me and they say, hey, the other day I found this picture or this video or this song remind me of you, I always think, it's nice.
Cute.
It feels like good to reconnect.
Yeah, so I feel like approaching it with generosity, that's also the thing. That's what it comes back to. People kind of come into the situation where they're looking for a connection with, what am I going to take out of it? And I think that's what sets you up sometimes. Whereas when you come in with the perspective of, what can I actually bring into this? What can I offer of myself? Of course, not material sense, but can I maybe offer a compliment? Can I offer a throwback to hey, here's a photo I found. How cute. And kind of giving rather than trying to extract. Always, I think it sets a good tone. And
yeah. Do you see yourself your whole life in Berlin?
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing this weekend.
Do you feel you're in the right place?
You know what? Now, yes, I think so. I've had a bit of a rough patch at a certain point where I thought, damn, because also I moved here when I was quite young, just graduated, and again, coming back to that, I was kind of very easily swayed in either direction, and that kind of set me up a little bit. But now I feel like I've gotten to know myself a little bit better, and I've found my own footing, and I don't get swayed as much. And in that regard, I feel very comfortable here.
Is there something that you would have done different?
Oh no, I mean, what's the point? In Italian, there's a saying, if my grandma had wheels, she would be a bike, if something was different, then this thing would be different. Sure. Is it something I'm hoping for? This one mistake I made, who cares?
Sounds very logic and funny.
Yeah, I think so. But it's so true. It shit happens. Move on. Also, I feel like the whole culture of fixating on what has gone wrong in my life and just sitting there and going in circles, unpacking your regrets and unpacking. I mean, some find it helpful, in very therapeutic kind of setting, this is trauma I'm carrying from my childhood because this one man looked at me this way and this grandma said this one thing to me. Of course, to a degree, I guess it stays with you, but I feel like maybe people focus on it a bit too much sometimes. And I'm just relax and breathe out, and just...
Sometimes things make you what you are.
Yeah, exactly. I think dwelling in the past is never a good idea. I'm also trying to part with my love for nostalgia because I think of myself as a very nostalgic person in every sense. From aesthetics, I love, film photography and just in general reminiscing about the good times, but it's such a dead end in the end. I don't think it has anything to offer. You're just nobody's winning there. It's a losing battle, drowning in the nostalgic fountains of your imagination. So I'm trying to not completely guard myself from nostalgia because I still think it's cute, but maybe have a healthier relationship to it, if that makes sense.
Dima, where can people find you?
On Torstrasse. I'll be there all week. You can find me and my project Mitte Daily on Instagram at Mitte Daily, or just go to mittedaily.com and subscribe to the newsletter, which is dropping very soon, and you'll most definitely want to read what's in it.
Dima, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you so much, Lord. It's been a delight.